Hello guys, Pedreira here. First of all, bear in mind that English is not my first language, and let's start. In this video I want to say that I have a lot of things going on in my life, that's why I do not upload videos for a long time. In this video I will show to you guys the update of my personal rig and what I have done and what I'm planning to do. First, one of my GTX 480 died, so I bought another one to continue to use my water block and SLI configuration. Because I took apart all my system, I also decided to take apart the water block and do a good cleaning. I replaced the thermal pads to a high performance thermal pad and I used MX4 on the GPU. Here you can see the custom backplate that I made, and in the time that I recorded this video I still had to paint it, but I have already painted, so I will show some pictures of it mounted in the end of this video. Here you can see my old memory with green PCB. This is G.Skill Trident 2000 Cache 9, and these are 2 GB sticks. So I decided to upgrade to 4 GB sticks, and I found this G.Skill memory for a reasonable price. They have a matte black PCB, and this package is a quad channel kit, but I will only use 3 sticks, so I will upgrade from a total of 6 GB to 12 GB, and I will raise the memory speed from 2000 to 2133. I will also change the original heatsink to this massive heatsink. Look how big this thing is comparing to the Trident memory that's not short. Okay, so now let's jump to the water cooling parts. I have the Apogee XT for 2 years now, so I decided to buy a new water block for my CPU, and I found very interesting the new Apogee HD, so I bought it as a replacement to my old one. Here you can see that I have already mounted the new water block, and I also changed the thermal pads of the Rampage 3 Extreme to a high performance thermal pads, and I used MX4 thermal paste as the north bridge and south bridge. I also put some washers on the motherboard screws to make more pressure, and here you can see the connection that I have done to connect the CPU block into the north bridge block. Before I had a big tube coming from the CPU to the north bridge, and this tube coming from the north bridge will be connected to this compression fitting. Here you can see my two MCP655 mounted in serial in a dual D5 top from Bitspower. I will be running two Corsair Force 3 GT 120 gigs, and here you can see the max speed achieved by this SSD. I will use these SSDs in RAID 0, but because the SATA 3 of the Rampage 3 Extreme is from a third-party chip that don't support RAID configuration, I will need to run these SSDs in the SATA 2 controller. Here's my NZXT Sentry Lx that I'm using for 3 years now with no problem, and here's my Lamptron FC5, and I will use 2 of these Lamptron fan controllers, so in total will be 3 fan controllers. The NZXT will be in the top because it's the only one that fit in the top in consequence of my quad radiator at the top. And here you can see my quadruple radiator is a HWLabs SR1 series. In the front of the case I'm using 2 dual radiators, one slim from Swiftech that is only 30 millimeters thick, and the other is from Alphacool and it's 60 millimeters thick. Here you can see how it's mounted. So I have the Alphacool here, then I have two fans, the Swiftech Radiator, and in the end of the sandwich I have two more fans. To make the connection between the two radiators, I have this tube coming from the Alphacool radiator going up to the Swiftech radiator. I hope you can see the fitting here. So continuing, it goes into the Swiftech radiator. From the radiator it goes to that fitting in the back, and then it goes to the quadruple radiator, and finally to the CPU. I have already cut the tubes in the right size. The first tube will be connected to the GPU block, and the second is the one that goes into the pump. The third tube is the tube that will come from the dual pump configuration into the Alphacool radiator, and I hope you can see it here. So my loop will be from the reservoir into the dual pump, then it goes into the Alphacool radiator, that goes into the Swiftech radiator. From the Swiftech radiator it goes into the quadruple radiator, that will go to the CPU block. From the CPU block we go direct into the North Bridge block, that have this tube connected direct into the GPU blocks that are in parallel, and finally it goes back to the reservoir. One more thing that I have upgraded into my personal rig is the CPU. I bought a used i7 990X to replace my old i7 930, and I probably will build a computer to give to my brother with my old parts. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you like it, feel free to share it by liking it or the way you want to share it. And don't forget that I will add some pictures at the end, and also subscribe to don't miss my new video of my personal rig. So thanks for watching.